Welcome to College Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: women and young polls propel Donald Tusk to brink of power. Gaza's limited water supply raises concerns for human health. Frasier is one of my favorite TV shows ever. The reboot? We'll see. Government review of Cannabis Act drags despite sense of urgency from pot industry. Mayor Olivia Chow talks about Toronto's future at TMU Democracy Forum. Women and young polls propel Donald Tusk to brink of power. Telegraph. Donald Tusk, leader of the Civic Platform Party, is set to deny Poland's ruling Law and Justice, Peace, party a third term in government after promising to liberalize the country's strict abortion laws. Peace won the most votes in last weekend's election but not enough to win a majority. An updated exit poll yesterday had Peace with 36.6% and Tusk on 31%. Tusk has two potential coalition partners, Third Way and the Left, which puts him in pole position to form a government. Peace have imposed a near-total ban on abortion. Gaza's limited water supply raises concerns for human health. The Toronto Star. The lack of clean water in the Gaza Strip is raising concerns for human health. Gaza normally gets its water supplies from a combination of sources, including a pipeline from Israel, desalination plants on the Mediterranean Sea, and wells. However, these supplies were slashed when Israel cut off water, fuel, and electricity in response to Hamas attacks. Water access is crucial for human health, as the human body needs a constant supply of water to survive. Lack of clean water can lead to dehydration and the spread of infections. In hospitals, clean water is essential for sanitary conditions and the prevention of hospital-associated infections. Frasier is one of my favorite TV shows ever. The reboot? We'll see. The Sydney Morning Herald. The recent revival of the hit TV show Frasier has received mixed reviews. The revival sees the title character, Dr. Frasier Crane, returning to Boston after 20 years and landing a teaching job at Harvard. The new series attempts to replicate the dynamics that made the original show successful but falls short in some areas. While Kelsey Grammer easily slips back into his role as Frasier Crane, other characters are thinly drawn and sometimes clumsy. The opening episode rushes through a load of expository information without much pizzazz, and the canned laughter is excessive and annoying. However, there are some exchanges that have the desired effect and bring back the wit and humor of the original show. Overall, the revival is a mixed bag and has yet to achieve the heights of its predecessor. The absence of certain key contributors, such as David Hyde Pierce and John Mahoney, may be one reason why the new series falls short. Government review of Cannabis Act drags despite sense of urgency from pot industry. The Toronto Star. Canada's cannabis industry is urging the government to make regulatory changes to support the struggling sector. The government launched a review of the country's cannabis legislation in September 2022, promising to address the challenges faced by the industry. However, the review has been delayed, and industry stakeholders are concerned that the longer they wait for regulatory changes, the more the industry will struggle. The industry blames several factors for its difficulties, including competition from illicit sellers, a burdensome excise tax, a race to the bottom on cannabis prices, and advertising restrictions. Companies across the supply chain are finding it difficult to maintain profitability and financial viability. The government review panel heard feedback from various industry stakeholders, including licensed producers, retailers, and community groups. However, the panel did not offer any recommendations, and the deadline for the final report is not until March 2024. The cannabis industry is particularly concerned about the excise taxes charged to pot producers. The taxes were initially based on the assumption that a gram of cannabis would sell for $10, but prices have dropped significantly due to competition with the illicit market. As a result, the tax rate is now in the 30% to 40% range, making it difficult for companies to pay the duties. While the sector's value has declined, data from Statistics Canada shows that more than 70% of the total value of cannabis consumed in Canada is now from a legal source. Industry stakeholders are calling for changes to packaging and advertising restrictions, as well as the ability to promote pot more freely to the public. However, the medical community is cautious about making changes that could compromise public health. The Canadian Institute for Health Information has reported an increase in cannabis-related emergency department visits and hospitalizations since legalization. The industry is concerned that companies may not survive the wait for regulatory changes, as some are already on the brink of bankruptcy. Mayor Olivia Chow talks about Toronto's future at TMU Democracy Forum. The Toronto Star. This article discusses the qualities and skills needed to win power and manage change in the city of Toronto. It mentions a Democracy Forum event at Toronto Metropolitan University, which will be moderated by Toronto Star columnist and TMU senior fellow Martin Reg Cohn. The event will be live-streamed and will discuss the challenges and strategies for winning elections and implementing effective change in Toronto. Georgia TE Brock Bowers is having ankle surgery. He likely will be sidelined at least a month. The Toronto Star. Georgia tight end Brock Bowers will likely be sidelined for at least a month after sustaining a high ankle sprain that requires surgery. The injury puts a damper on Georgia's bid for a third straight national title, but there is hope that Bowers will be able to return in time for the end of the season. Bowers leads Georgia with 41 receptions for 567 yards and 4 touchdowns, and his injury will likely scuttle his chances of being a Heisman Trophy candidate. The Bulldogs will likely give a larger role to second-year tight end Oscar Delp in Bowers' absence. Arrest made in shooting of police officers at Philadelphia Airport. The Independent. An arrest has been made following the death of a police officer at Philadelphia International Airport. Veteran officers Richard Mendez and Raul Ortiz confronted 2 people breaking into a car at the airport before being attacked. Mendez was shot multiple times and died shortly after. Ortiz was shot once in the arm but was released from hospital on Saturday. Authorities have scheduled a press conference for Monday to release further details. The suspects fled the scene in an SUV that was later seen at a hospital in Philadelphia, dropping off 18-year-old Jesus Herman Madera Duran, who was pronounced dead on Thursday. Girls, aged 12 and 13, strip-searched by NSW police. The Sydney Morning Herald. The number of strip searches conducted by the New South Wales Police on girls as young as 12 and 13 has increased by 30% for females under 17. The data, obtained by the Redfern Legal Center, showed that 3 primary school-aged girls and 6 13-year-old girls were strip-searched between July 2022 and June 2023. Experts have called for an immediate end to the practice, describing it as barbaric and potentially causing long-term harm to children. Alarming and deeply disappointing, sexual harassment at universities on the rise, survey reveals. The Sydney Morning Herald. Reported cases of sexual harassment at universities in Australia have increased by nearly 53% over the past 5 years, according to a survey by the National Tertiary Education Union. The survey found that 1 in 3 respondents had experienced harassment, with the majority of perpetrators being coworkers, followed by managers and students. Only 13% of those who experienced harassment made a formal complaint, with many facing negative consequences or being encouraged to drop their complaints. The union called for all higher education employers to adopt an effective complaint process that is victim-centric. How much coffee is too much coffee? The Sydney Morning Herald. The average adult can safely consume up to 400 milligrams of caffeine per day, or the equivalent of 6 espresso shots, according to Rob Van Dam, a professor of exercise and nutrition sciences at George Washington University. But people break down caffeine at different rates. A mid-afternoon espresso may lead to trouble sleeping for some, whereas others may not notice any side effects. Smoking can speed up caffeine metabolism significantly, while being pregnant or taking oral contraceptives can slow it down. Dear viewers, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6 Degrees world. Today, we have a diverse range of news stories to discuss. Let's dive in. First, we have the exciting development in Polish politics. Donald Tusk, leader of the Civic Platform Party, is on the verge of denying the ruling Law and Justice Party a third term in government. Tusk's promise to liberalize the country's strict abortion laws has garnered support from women and young Poles, positioning him as a strong contender to form a government. It's a fascinating turn of events that showcases the power of grassroots movements and the importance of issues like reproductive rights. Next, we have a concerning situation in the Gaza Strip. The lack of clean water due to Israeli restrictions is raising serious health concerns for the people living there. Access to clean water is essential for human health, and the current situation puts the population at risk of dehydration and the spread of infections. It's a reminder of the urgent need for humanitarian aid and a resolution to the ongoing conflict. On a lighter note, the revival of the hit TV show Frasier has received mixed reviews. While Kelsey Grammer effortlessly slips back into his role as Frasier Crane, the new series falls short in some areas. The absence of key contributors and rushed storytelling have left fans wanting more. It's a reminder that not all revivals can capture the magic of the original, but it's still worth giving it a chance and seeing if it can find its footing. Shifting gears, let's talk about Canada's cannabis industry. The sector is urging the government to make regulatory changes to support its struggling businesses. The delay in the government's review of the Cannabis Act has left the industry in a precarious position, facing challenges from illicit sellers, high taxes, and advertising restrictions. While changes are needed to ensure the industry's viability, it's crucial to balance that with public health concerns raised by the medical community. Finding the right balance will be key to the industry's survival and growth. In Toronto, Mayor Olivia Chow will be discussing the city's future and the strategies for winning elections and implementing effective change at a Democracy Forum event. It's an opportunity to delve into the qualities and skills needed to lead a city and bring about positive transformations. It's essential for citizens to engage in these discussions and actively participate in shaping the future of their communities. Moving on to sports, Georgia's tight end Brock Bowers will be sidelined for at least a month due to an ankle injury. The setback is a blow to Georgia's bid for a third straight national title, but there is hope for his return before the end of the season. It's a reminder that injuries can have a significant impact on a team's performance, but it also provides an opportunity for other players to step up and shine. Turning to a more somber topic, an arrest has been made in the shooting of police officers at Philadelphia International Airport. The incident resulted in the death of one officer and injuries to another. It's a tragic reminder of the dangers that law enforcement officers face in the line of duty and the need for continued efforts to ensure their safety. On a disturbing note, the number of strip searches conducted by the New South Wales Police on girls as young as 12 and 13 has increased, raising concerns about potential long-term harm to children. The practice has been described as barbaric and calls for an immediate end to such actions are growing. It's a stark reminder of the need for greater accountability and respect for individual rights. In Australia, a survey reveals an alarming increase in reported cases of sexual harassment at universities. The majority of perpetrators were coworkers, managers, and students themselves. The survey also highlights the challenges faced by victims in reporting harassment, with negative consequences and discouragement being common. It's a reminder that institutions must prioritize the safety and well-being of their students and employees and adopt effective complaint processes. Lastly, let's talk about coffee. How much is too much? According to an expert, the average adult can safely consume up to 400 milligrams of caffeine per day, equivalent to 6 espresso shots. However, individuals metabolize caffeine differently, and factors like smoking, pregnancy, and medication can affect its effects. So, while some may enjoy their mid-afternoon espresso without any side effects, others may need to exercise caution to avoid trouble sleeping. That wraps up our news roundup for today. I hope you found it informative and entertaining. Now, it's your turn to join the conversation. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any questions for me? Let's discuss. Dr. Six, signing off. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.